Hey guys, how's it going? Last time I left off with showing you Mark pushing dirt on the property. And we had this massive amount of area that we were trying to level off because we wanted to do two things with that area. One of them was that we wanted to build a parking lot. And so you can actually see in some of the footage and some of the pictures that I'm showing you here, you'll see gravel in the background. So that's kind of happening in the background. And but the second thing that we wanted to do with that area was we wanted to grow grass. We wanted to flatten it out and grow grass and ultimately put an outdoor ceremony space out there, and also have a leveled area so that people could essentially enjoy themselves out on this field, whether that's in a tent or whatever that might be. And so once he leveled this all out, Kelsey and I, we bought kind of this harrow that we drug behind our truck. And the point of that was just to break up the dirt clods and whatnot, and to help continue to level out that area because the bulldozer wasn't perfect at getting that done. And actually we went through with a lot of hand tools and busted down areas that were higher than others. So you can kind of see here some of those final pictures of where it was once we ended up doing that. And for the most part, it went really well. And there were still areas that were higher than others, but we got it to where we felt good about it. And then we bit the bullet and we finally decided to bring water up on the property. That was not cheap because we laid 4-inch pipe all the way from the road all the way up to kind of right there by the vineyard where the current water spigot is. That was financially, probably, other than buying the property up until that point, that was the biggest financial piece that we had ever done there. And so you can see here we brought that up, and then I dug a hole down so that we could tap into that, because what I was doing was I put together an irrigation system so that all of this grass out there, I knew I could water it and help it grow and sustain itself. And so that was a whole lot of YouTube, right? And learning, hey, what is it that I need to know in order to be successful at that? And I've always said, when you don't have a lot of money and you can't pay others to do it, what do you have? And typically time is there. If you don't have time, well, you're overworked and underpaid, right? But I had the time, and so I went and I learned how to do these things. I learned that in an irrigation system, you don't just turn on your water and all of the water heads work, right? You have to actually figure out how many gallons per minute are flowing out of your water, and how much pressure there is. And so from that, I was able to calculate, here's how many sections I can water at a time, or here how many sprinkler heads I can operate. And so throughout that whole thing, and so you can see me kind of putting that together, and I think we did 3, maybe 4. I know we have 4 now, but at the time maybe it was just 3 sections that we watered. And I built this irrigation system, tapped into that water, built that irrigation system. And then my brother came out and he helped me trench in these lines. You can see the trencher there. And I put those lines pretty deep simply because I didn't want any erosion to show any of those lines in the long run. The reality was we had just disturbed this whole field, and if it rains and whatnot, erosion can happen. And if you put those lines just a few inches down, well, they may eventually show themselves. So I put them 2 foot under the ground. But anyway, so you can see these pictures here that we're showing you kind of after we trenched them in. That's the first picture of us turning on that first line. And then check out these videos of us running the water here. Check that out.
Hard to tell, but we've got a sprinkler system in, and I'm just getting the heads adjusted. This is the second phase of them. And so yeah, we got 18 heads in total to get this about half an acre taken care of, a little bit more for green grass coming up here soon. The Brim is being born. Praying for green grass.
So after we had these installed, it was like, it's time for grass seed. And that was a really exciting moment because we were like, man, we're coming to fruition, right? We're gonna be able to plant the seed. So we went and we purchased, I think it was 600 to 700 pounds of grass seed that we laid out over this field. It was a massive amount of seed. And we were banking on, come on, let's have the right weather, let's make sure we water it correctly, let's make sure that we've spread it out the right way across this field. And for the most part, we did okay. But here, check this video out. This is a video of us when we had first laid it down. You can kind of see it there. And, you know, the spread, I just kind of made sure that it was out there. And then from there, what I did was I took that same harrow that we used to break up dirt clods, and I drug it behind my truck to try to help spread that seed out nice and evenly. I just had a spreader that I walked behind, and I did a bunch of passes down and back, down and back, down and back, until I saw on the ground that it looked like it was covered enough. You know, my local grass pad here in Kansas City said this is kind of what the ground needs to look like if you're going to put seed down. So that's what I did. You can see here some more, you can see here some more pictures of us watering the seed and whatnot, and then ultimately, check it out, here it is, the grass is finally growing. And for the most part, we did just fine. Now, that ground is actually slightly tilted, and so not much, it's pretty flat, but on the high side, there were times in there where we got a pretty large amount of rain, and I think some of that seed washed down to the lower half, because the lower half grew way better than the upper half. And I really think that's because we had such heavy rains at time during that small season that it washed some of that seed. But for the most part, it all did fine. And you know, this was a time for us where, but we just started really, we took those small steps, right? And I know I've spoken about that on the videos before, but if we don't take the small steps in life to see to it that these things happen that we know will be good, right, then we'll miss out on a lot of good that could have been. And I think marriage is a lot like that, right? We just did a wedding here today, and we've got a rehearsal coming in, and we've been really busy, lots of weddings, multiple, nearly every day, but I get reminded during these times how simple it is at the beginning and how happy a couple can be. And I want them to have that forever, and I hope that they do. But the reality is that marriage, it's a task. And if we don't foster, if we don't tend to our marriages, we may never know how good it could have been. And it's just like building this out here. If we don't tend to, you know, leveling the ground, if we don't tend to putting in the sprinkler heads, if we don't tend to making sure the sprinkler heads are set correctly and the grass seed is in the proper spots, and then we actually come out and water it, right? If we don't tend to those things, we'll never know how good it could be. And I know for a fact that there's goodness in store for all people. And I know for a fact that, like, no matter how simple of a task that has been set before you, like, you can do it. And I just encourage you to take one step per day to make those things happen. And I encourage you to do that in your marriage as well. Maybe you're not married, but you can be preparing for marriage. Maybe you are married, and you can continue to work on that where you're at. And maybe you're well advanced in your marriage, and I'm certain that you're still fostering that and finding and tending to good, healthy, strong marriage, right? So anyways, guys, I didn't mean to get on a rant there, but what we do here at the Brim is so much like watering grass, you know? We just love that. And next time I'm gonna talk to you about our outdoor ceremony space. Holy moly, what are these kids doing up on this hill? They're literally putting telephone poles in the ground and painting them white. And so I'm excited to share that with you. Until then, hope you have a good one, and we'll talk soon. Bye, y'all.